talking about getting to work, getting to action. We talk about doing an audit. We talk about, really, really getting to the heart of the matter concerning governance in our country and the role that we're supposed to play as citizens. And for the last couple of weeks, we've been talking about shifting our mindset. We've agreed that we are shareholders, and shareholders are people who have a stake and they're people who take action. We've mapped our wards. We've gotten some toolkits, some things to empower us to be able to take action. And we've also looked at our local spheres of influence. But today, we are going straight to the vault. We need to talk about what some people have said is a heist that is happening right before our faces. A heist that is happening right before our faces, right? Let's look at the balance sheet. In 2024, the Supreme Court delivered a landmark judgment. They said local government areas are autonomous. They ordered that billions from the Federation account should go directly to your local government areas. No middleman, no interference. The highest court in the land legally freed your local government. But fast forward it, we are midway through 2026 and the data for the first quarter of this year is out, and it is staggering. Because apparently between January and March of 2026 alone, state governments across the Federation successfully processed and retained 1.46 trillion naira in local government allocations. 1.46 trillion naira gone into the belly of the old, broken, defunct, if you want to look at it, or defective joint accounts system. The federal government released it, the Supreme Court cleared it, but yet your primary health care center still doesn't have basic medication. Your schools don't have roofs. We're looking at things that are directly in our communities and things that we see on a daily basis. The local roads, the market doesn't have drainage, and your community roads are still swallow holes. So we're asking a very simple question today. If the Supreme Court has freed your local government, who is still holding your money? And so the audit starts today. The actual breakdown of monies that we know have gone into certain places, and we are trying to find them. Or rather, we are trying to see what those monies have done. Remember that entire conversation about corruption, in terms of funds, whether borrowed or even locally generated. The narrative, to a large extent, is still the same. And to help us break down this conversation today about why we are not seeing as much action as we should be seeing across the local government areas where they're supposed to be autonomous, why it's seeming as if an entire high court of the land, the highest court in the land, pronounced the judgment. And I bet you when they're looking at the achievements of this administration, they will be very quick to say that the president, it was under his leadership that you had local governments freed. But are they actually free? And what is happening to the money that has gone to them? It's still Somi here. Gabriel Spector is also here in the studio. Hi, Gabriel.
Hi, Somi.
And our guest this afternoon is Barrister Samuel Ayodele Adepitan, a legal luminary himself, who is going to be helping us break down the intricacies of this, because it's now seeming like rocket science that we cannot have local government autonomy as we ought to be having it. And that is why all of these monies are going, and we are not able to track it. Can we fix the gaps today? Can we answer the tough questions today? Can we get answers today? And can we start saying, really and truly, we're empowered to go into these local government areas, or as Abuja's situation, this area council, to ask questions and find out why we are not getting what we ought to be getting. Welcome to the show this afternoon, sir.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon.
Okay, could you say that again with the mic closer to your mic? You can bring it down. There we go.
All right. Thank you so much. Good afternoon, and good afternoon to Abuja residents.
Welcome, Barrister. All right, let's get to it straight away. A Supreme Court judgment has been passed. If we're looking across the entire federation, we'll come to the FCT, but if we're looking at across the entire federation, how many of these local governments would we say are actually autonomous?
Okay, thank you once again, and thank you for this opportunity. Well, if I'm to be candid with your question, I would say for now, at this stand, as of today, no local government out of 774 local governments in Nigeria are truly financially autonomous.
None of them.
I can, because it's not on record.
So, what then did the Supreme Court judgment do?
Okay, so when you were analyzing,
Yes.
you said when the people in government, when they are listing out their achievements, one of the achievements they will list is the local government's financial autonomy. Well, it's not out of place, and it won't be out of place if you give them their flower. Because the reason why I said this is because from inception of Nigeria, no government is bold enough to really take
That
the
stance.
state government or take that stand and even find legal backing to it in the apex court. Only this government are able to take the bull by the horn. And truthfully, the judgment was gotten. And if you look at it, prior before this judgment came about, you can see the running, or rather the administration of the local government is neither here nor there. It's just solely in the arm or in the room of so-called state government. And you can see when the Attorney General of the Federation sued all the state governments, all of them were represented in the court. And all of them were giving some arguments as to, yes, we are doing this, we are doing that, there's no need for the federal government to institute this action, because none of them really wanted to come into light. But when the judgment was passed, July 2024, yes, Nigeria can now know that, yes, their local governments, wherever they are, fully have this financial, because one thing about the judicial case is it was just trying to fight against the financial autonomy. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't stop there. But at least...
Fight against or fight for?
Because we can use the two in conjunction.
Okay.
Because right from time, the financial autonomy has never been, even though it's there, local government is recognized Section 7 of 1 of the 1999 Constitution, and particularly for the first schedule, list out the duty of the local government, which you and I know that they are the ones that have the largest number of people that are living. Anywhere we find ourselves, we will either say, yes, we are living in this local government, and we should have the government that are more closer to the public. And their duty, they are innumerable. Parking, grassroots, healthcare, and all. So what affects you and I to our everyday life? So when the judgment was in place and the judgment was gotten, you can see that 30 out of 36 of the states rushed to conduct their local government elections. It's unprecedented in Nigeria, because what is in place are tenable before is when the government come on board, it will just appoint anybody that I feel like, which they usually call caretaker committee. And those caretaker committee, if the governor stay for 4 years, they will stay or remain in power for that 4 years. If it's 8 years, they will remain in power for that 8 years. But there was a stand from the federal government that if you don't have a democratically elected council, no fund will come to you. So the bottleneck is really what is really causing the local government autonomy. And if you look at it, a couple of states even went ahead to enact some laws with the aim of what? I don't know their aim, but a law that is not in place before, and the judge now came, he now said, okay, now go ahead to now enact a law, and in particular, Anambra State, they enacted Anambra local government laws. What
does the law say as enacted by the state?
The law is, I think, the two aspects that I will just bring out from the law is the aspect of, even though that law fully recommend or recognize the Supreme Court's judgment in facial, but some of the content in that law really state that money from the federal allocation will still come down to this joint state account, which is what the Supreme Court is ruled against.
So let me get this straight. There is a Supreme Court judgment that gives local government areas across the Federation financial autonomy. And then subsequent to that judgment, states went ahead, hurriedly conducted some of all of these elections for local government chairman and what have you. And then you are having some states, Anambra State, for example, also passing another law that is running side by side to say that what the Supreme Court judgment ruled against, they are now still implementing it within their state. Is that what you're saying happened here?
No, the thing is that, as I was saying earlier, that the Supreme Court judgment, which bring about judicial solution, might not really be the only thing that will bring liberty to this issue.
So the Supreme Court judgment was not enough.
There are a lot of administrative. It's not enough. Yeah, we know that it's the apex court in the land, and whatsoever decision it makes, that is final. And at least in the judicial aspect, there's finality. But when you have issue of administrative bottleneck, that's another aspect. Of course, the Supreme Court justices will not come to different local governments and start putting XYZ in place. There is this directive, of course, the federal government set up a committee to make sure that there's implementation. When there's a law, there has to be an implementation form. And
federal government set up a committee?
Yes, to implement, because, it's always difficult to change from the norms. We are coming from somewhere before, and the people are used to this type of system. That when federal government releases money, it goes down to the joint state account, and from there, the government they will disburse the money to the various local governments as they deem fit. But there has to be a mechanism in place to make sure that what the Supreme Court judgment is fully implemented.
Is this mechanism in place?
It's a work in progress.
So it's not in place?
It's not fully. It's not fully. Because if I sit down here and tell you that it's in place, then we need to see results.
But Adepitan, let me come at it from this angle. I know that you have your legal hat on right now, and there's some very, very interesting legal questions that I need you to answer at some point. But also, think about this as a citizen. What it's sounding to me like is that the Supreme Court judgment has made for something that wasn't in existence before to exist, but in its simpler form. Ideally, and correct me if I'm thinking too much as a layperson, it says, don't use joint state accounts anymore. So automatically, local government chairmen are empowered to have their own accounts from which money will flow from the federation account into their own accounts. So what we are having, again, in the first quarter, 1.46 trillion still went into the joint state accounts. Who can we say is in contempt of court here? Because it is looking like there's a contempt of court matter at hand. Is it the people that paid the money into the joint state accounts? Is it that these what they call it now, this local government chairman or areas didn't have their own accounts, and that's why they still had to pay there? Because what is so complex about implementing this judgment? I'm confused.
Okay, you don't need to be confused, but the truth of the matter is straightforward. What has happened? Because if there is a individual, I would like to use that word, individual, because I'm referring to the various local government now. If there's individual local government accounts, the central bank will have the need to send money to this joint state account.
I mean, if Anambra State, by virtue of the new law that they created, sends a memo to the central bank and says, based on this our law, this is our own way of adopting local government autonomy, well, are they going to do any differently? It's looking like there is still a stranglehold on the local governments and their finances by the state government. So, as a barrister now, there is a contempt of court judgment here. This is 2 years after the judgment was passed. How difficult can it be? Are we looking at a case of contempt of court, and how do we address it? Because the citizens will need to be able to say, we Our local governments are empowered, they are funded, and we can track these fundings. But with the joint state account, what is happening is that a system that has kept us bound for so many years still persists, and there is no way out. Think on that. Let's take this quick commercial break, and then I'll get your answer when we come back. Thank you.
Jolly Johnny akan titi ke magana.
take into cognizance one very key judgment that came into place about 2 years ago that, we're seeing is experiencing technical difficulties and glitches here and there. I've got with me in the studio Barrister Samuel Ayodele Adepitan, and we have been talking about this matter together. Monies have been disbursed. The Supreme Court has cleared that these monies should be disbursed, and we have, by way of actual data, 1.46 trillion naira that passed through state joint accounts in 3 months, the first 3 months of this year. And, at the end of the day, directly or indirectly, as my guest said, monies are actually getting to these local governments or this area council. So let's say maybe there is no legal angle to it in terms of contempt of court and all of that. I don't have time to keep hammering on that, so let's move on. But basically, what we're seeing is some sort of lag time that the governors are using to keep their hands on the funds. Is the reason why we're still having these administrative bottlenecks where the monies are not entirely going directly to the local governments. Barrister Adepitan, let's talk about the FCT specifically. They have area councils under the FCT administration. Are our area council chairmen genuinely enjoying financial autonomy as intended by the Apex Court, or is the FCT acting as an administrative middleman, also duplicating what we're seeing across various states in the country?
Yes, well, before we answer that question, you said something about content the last time. Of course, if you look at some of the seemingly compliance that we have so far with the financial autonomy, is as a result of the threat from the federal government to some of the hearing governors. And that's why some of them conducted...
What threat? I haven't heard of a threat.
Of course, some of them, before the judgment came in, but we can count how many states have local governments, like democratically elected local government. But after that, because the federal government released a statement that yes, it must be complied with fully. And that's why some of them conducted their local government elections. And of course, so that's why we have them in place. And now, down to your question as to
the
FCT.
FCT, yes.
Of course, the FCT recently, the election was conducted. And they elected we have 6 area council in FCT.
Yeah, the question is, are they enjoying financial autonomy?
Yes, because they are recognized as a local government council. That's why they have chairman.
Barrister Adepitan,
yes.
Don't lawyer up on me. Are they enjoying financial autonomy as intended by the Supreme Court, or do we still have a joint state account as we have in other states? That's the question.
Well, currently, as I sit here, there is no confirmation otherwise from the CBN that each of the area council or local government in Nigeria have their own separate account.
Okay.
Because they are meant to submit, because there's a directive from the CBN that each of the local government should submit bank details to the Federation Account and Allocation Committee. So, and that is part of course, the law firm I happen to work with, when that case came in place, we tend to be an advocate of the local government autonomy. And we have been doing what we can do at our own level to make sure that this is your right. At least because, just as I was saying the last time, that most people are somehow contented with how it has been in the past. But this is a new shift to what has been on ground. So they need to have that understanding as to what should be in place, which I believe that they must, because there are a lot of seminar and all for them to understand what the Supreme Court judgment is all about. And most of them must have if they have not, at least they must have submit their bank detail to make sure and there have been a lot of clamor from their local outcome. That's their local government association.
Yes.
That yes, they really want this to be in place. And at the long run, the onus is on us now as a citizen of Nigeria to make sure that the intent of the Supreme Court, which bets the judicial backing, must be met.
Okay.
And all the bottleneck call it administrative, lack of political commitment, and what's it called again? That all of them should be taken away and make sure that what this will of the citizen, because the will of you and I and others that are listening to us right now is to see a society whereby what this tier of government need to do did not suffer from either the second tier or from the first tier. And from the record we have, the first tier has been doing this judiciously, because every now and then you hear that, yes, the committee in charge of disbursement of allocation has done their own part. And when the disbursement takes place, it is what? It is that third tier. If that money did not get to the third tier, which affect you and I, we won't feel the impact. And that's why it feels as if money, we are seeing money in figure. But people are not really seeing
feeling the impact.
The impact.
Yeah.
You go to primary care, which also take cater for people that cannot even afford either the state government-owned hospital or the federal government-owned hospital or even the private hospital. At the end of the day, they don't even have, some of them even don't have even drug. More time I watch on TV that this, what thing did they even disburse? I've forgotten. I pray maybe I remember before the end of the program that they start disbursing this to each of the states. And you see them laboring it, that this one to Niger State, this one to Ondo State, this one to this.
You are going far. We already have 1.46 trillion naira as our starting figure, and this was in the first 3 months of this year. We can start from there to take the amounts apart and said, if this 1.46 trillion naira passed through this state's joint local government account, what portion of it actually got to the local? How should I put this now? My research says it passed through. So if I were to go by the logical definition of that, it means that it entered and it came out. Yeah, so it came in. FAC actually made sure that this money's entered the state joint local government accounts, which by right and by law, and given the timing since this Supreme Court judgment came into place till now, it doesn't make sense that they're still existing. And we'll speak to what the Constitution says about these accounts. But let us even look at it from the fact that it passed through. So FAC paid it in, federal allocations ensured that monies were paid in, and then the monies went out to these local government areas. So Nigeria, you're listening right now. So the question now, my guest says, look, it is on, might seem like a lot to be putting on our shoulders, but I mean, sometimes we have to bear these burdens. He's saying it is on us as the citizens to pressure these local government areas or these area councils to say, we have this figure at least that we are seeing has passed through the same accounts. We can fight and continue to put pressure to ensure that you get your own independent account. But in the meantime, this money, is on record. So what portion of it came to your local government area? What portion of it came to your area council? Again, you will need to be looking at the budgets of these area councils to be able to say, okay, you had a budget proposal, this was what was appropriated, this was what was approved, but whether you like it or not, for this first 3 months of this year, 1.46 trillion has gone through these accounts, and it should be, some portion of it should be working for you already in your local government area, whether it is for road, whether it is for education, whether it is for health, whether it is for whatever the case is. And I believe that to a large extent, we've started giving you some of these tools. My guest who was with us last week gave us some trackers, some website trackers that show state and local government funding. So perhaps that's the assignment that I'll leave us with today, right before I open up the phone lines. You want to be able to say 1.46 trillion, how much of it has gotten to my local government chairman or my area council chairman, right? And then from that portion, what has been used to do what? What has been used to do what? These are the ways that we can actively audit these monies beyond just, talking about the fact that, there's corruption. Follow the money, basically, is what our conversation today is saying. Let me come back to you, Barrister Adepitan. Civil society is aggressively calling for an amendment to Section 162 of the Constitution to permanently delete the phrase state joint local government account. As a lawyer, if a Supreme Court judgment exists, why do we still need a constitutional amendment? Does the text of the 1999 Constitution currently protect the governors more than it protects the grassroots?
Yes, if I'm to answer that, I would say, of course, we all know that the Constitution, 1999 Constitution as amended, is the ground law, and any law that is inconsistent with it is non-avoid an ab initio. So, one of the hindrance we have is that Section 162 of the Constitution, which provides for that joint
State account to exist.
Because if we have a session crystal spelled out that each local government and state should have their account, I believe that part of this administrative button that we are experiencing now won't be in place. Because in as well as, take for example, Enugu State, they complain there's directive that each of the local government should apply to open an account with them. But some of the chairmen in Enugu State give an impression that yes, their money has never been delayed. They get the shares that's supposed to come to their account. So they don't have any issue with
So what's the point?
So the thing is that we don't need to be in the upstairs. Even in our low stair, we should be able to rise to the occasion. Because whether you like it or not, if your money is coming to you, law is law. Judgment is judgment. You shouldn't choose which of the judgment you should obey. It should be obeyed to the latter. And whether you are enjoying it now, or you have not, whether you have complained before, or you are not, or you have never complained, or maybe your state governor has been doing the needful, sending the money. When they receive the money in the joint account, they look at, they do their whatever mathematics they want to use to divide the money, and they send you your own adequate amount of money. But if there's a judgment of the Supreme Court that says this should be done, XYZ, their money should be sent to them from the federal, that's the committee that in charge of it, and send the money down to the local government, then it should be obeyed. Or whatever that needs to be done should be complied with. I, for one, I wish I have the answer to the delay in opening an account. I don't think opening an account should take forever.
Well, I think I have reasons to believe that it's highly political. Because the moment you hand over money to local government chairman, one of the ways a state governor, for example, now, if a party, let's say a political party, the governor is considered to be 01 of that political party in that particular state. And many times, which is now the case more often than not, whatever political party the governor belongs to, many times you have quite a large sum of the local government chairman in that same political party. So perhaps maybe it is one of the ways the state governor takes, control of the state. So do you think that politics is a major factor in why there's, because actually think about it, there's absolutely no reason why 2 years after the judgment we still do not have, there's the legal framework has been done, as has been assented to by the presidency. The judiciary has ruled on the matter. So you now have the executive, the judiciary, and the legislative all ratifying one singular document saying that let local government receive their monies directly. But an arm of the executive at the subnational level say, for whatever reason, that cannot fly yet. Don't you think it's a gross misconduct? I mean, look at the ADF. He has issued several warnings to the state governors. There's going to be legal consequences. But I mean, I'm just, if you can speak to that. Okay, well, I've mentioned it maybe slightly, not robustly, last time when Somi has this question. The judiciary has done their own work, but all does not bust down all with the judiciary. And to add to what you have said, there's a side of political commitment that need to be put in place. And who are those in the political space? They are the governors. They are the local government chairmen in various local government and all. And of course, another aspect that we need to look at is this stronger governance structure, which if you look at it from beginning, you think to look at the local government itself, the way things have been working. Nobody really trusts them. So some are saying, well, what about maybe if they send this money to them,
Is there going to be transparency? Is there going to be accountability? And what have you? But to me, I don't think you trust people by trusting. And now, all the eyes of Nigeria are on you. If all the bottlenecks are taken off and money go directly to the local government, and of course, we have a lot of agency that track finances that comes in and even go out of your account. And of course, we know that in quotes, this local government account will be a national figure. So, and is being operated within, in Nigeria. So if any, maybe a local government chairman now wake up and so say, okay, I just want to take this money to pay for, to whether pay for this amount of my, whatever expenses it might be. You should know that what NFIU is watching you. And all of that. So, but basically, the mandate is on us, the citizen, to make sure that what do we really want? Now, for a very long time,
what is the role of the citizens in this?
Yes.
Everything has been done. This should be plug and play. Why do the citizens have to do something again?
Because the answer is provided in the Constitution. Section 14 sub 2 provide that what? The ultimate power belongs to the people. So we
do what?
To do everything.
Because what in this specific context?
Now we are in a political era. That is when sometimes some governments that don't really remember people when they get to power, this is the area that they remember that what their citizens somewhere, that they fall back to them. Was it last week and last 2 weeks? Almost everywhere in the city are empty. Not that say maybe everybody traveled, but of course some of the political weight had to travel to their various local governments, looking for what? Trying to get a mandate from the people. That is where we exercise our power. So those people that we know that was in some of these things to be implemented, not even the local government autonomy alone. That is where we exercise that power. It's just like you being the owner of your house. You have the key to your house, to your door. You can determine who will enter, at least legally or not. So if you look through the window and you didn't like this person that would don't want to enter my house, you can lock the door and say, please go away. So when they come, that is what we tell that this and what is also which you have done, and now you are not doing it. This is where I want to exercise my power. And so that is the aspect. So, and if there is something that we cannot take away from this, at least I'm not speaking for the president, because he hasn't briefed me for that. But from the record we have, when there was clamor that the minister of youth that he appointed by then is not the youth and no other, I can't remember the age now, but at least the person must have passed the age of 50 and above and so on that. And the citizens clamored that no, it's called youth and sport. It should be a person that is useful as something and that should head this ministry. And what happened? I don't know the duration, but the current minister of youth is what, even though it's my namesake, Ayodele, look, when you look at him, he's a young man.
All right, I need to come in at this point. You have a background in litigation and human rights advocacy. If somebody who is listening right now gets their hands on information concerning these monies that have gotten to their area council chairman or their local government chairman, and they find that they've received these millions, but the things that the monies were supposed to do have not been done. Primary health care abandoned, teachers not paid, and all of that. What is their legal recourse? Can a citizen sue their local government chairman or their area council chairman for breach of the mandate, or does the law shut the courtroom door against taxpayers at that level?
The law can never shut the door.
So a citizen can sue the local government chairman?
A citizen can sue anyone, not only a local government chairman, but
we're speaking in this context.
In this line,
yes,
a citizen can sue a local government chairman if of course, evidence.
After office or during office?
They have immunity. They don't have immunity.
They don't.
No, I mean, I just want to hear from a lawyer.
Yes.
They don't have immunity right now.
Don't have.
Yes?
So it means they can be sued during office.
They can.
Okay.
Because they don't have the immunity that the president and the state governor enjoy, which them is after their tenure in office that you can bring out a suit against them.
Okay.
So if there is evidence which is what make you to win the case in court or not, if there's evidence in place, of course you can go ahead and sue your citizen. But The bottom line is every citizen, wherever you are resident, you need to hold your government political office, order, and in this case, your local government chairman, you need to hold them accountable.
I mean, we use that word a lot. It is a word that I'm sure a lot of us, even if they wake us up from sleep, say, I hold them accountable. But that's why we're talking about the practical steps. And that's why I asked about being able to sue, for example. But again, you made a very important point, and lawyers will mess you up with this if you don't have it, and that is evidence. And speaking to evidence, we have, as much as possible, try to provide some resources where you can go and track these funds. Last week, my guest was here. He dropped a few websites. I think I've got feedback concerning that. He says, sincerely, I didn't intend to make a comment now, but I have to. The guest who gave us some websites to follow the money, I was able to access one of the sites, openstates.ng, in which I won airtime from you. The fact is, most of the states I opened, the websites have no up-to-date information. Some states stop updating or giving out information since between 2023 to 2025. They are just deceiving us. Babs Kuta with that message. Babs, I say to you, if you know that state or if you are from that state, this is where we come in. All right. And again, I know that it can seem like a lot, but if we're really going to take action, my guest was talking about, using the political season to leverage on some of all of these things. If the problem is that the data is not up to date, it is because the state governments did not update. It is because the local governments did not update. So we have some information at our disposal. For the states that don't have up-to-date information, what can we do to let them know that you owe us this information? I think it was a budget report or one of those CSOs who actively follows through with these things. They say, okay, even if you don't put the information, we have the information, because there is, by virtue of the Open Gov Partnership Forum, there is access to that information. So if you checked one website and you did not see it, if you can't get it from another website, we will continue to empower you with some of these resources. Please go and get that information, because it starts with having the data to now be able to say, this is money that came to you that you did not use for what you said you were going to use it for, right? So it starts from there. We bring the information, we bring the resources, empower yourselves with that information. Babs, I'm saying this specifically because you sent me this feedback. I'm thank you for the feedback. But don't stop at the fact that you opened some states. I like the fact that you said some, not all. There are some states that are more compliant. And Philip, who was my guest last week, also made mention of that. There are states that have not even agreed to be on the open governance platform at all. And if I'm not mistaken, FCT as a Federal Capital Territory is one of them. It is only a particular local government within the FCT, or two local governments within the FCT, that agreed to be on that open and transparent platform. So this is where we come in as citizens. This is where we act as citizens. Look for more. Don't wait and say, oh, Somi did not give me information, so I did not. Use what you have. And if what you have is not enough, look for more. But do not stop there. Take action, please, so that at every level we're auditing and at every level we're taking action. We need to go on this break. We'll be back.
Plate of jollof rice to the next level of...
This is Nigeria Info.